Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some more progressive forging exercises using progressive bosses, so to speak. So in this, I'm starting with a piece of 3/8 by 3/8 inch mild steel of material, and it's on roughly a 2 foot long length handle, or just whatever's comfortable. So 3/8 by 3/8 is 9.5 mil by 9.5 mil, or closer to about 10 mil for those of you who are interested, 10 millimeters. So we're gonna start like we've done in other videos. We're gonna just put over a cube of material just over the far side of the anvil. And we're gonna do half on, half off blows. Hammer that down. We're going to come to the near side of the anvil where that taper just began from the hammer. We're going to create that shoulder again, back to the far side, back to the near. And we're going to correct the material thickness back to the parent bar stock material thickness. It's really important that we want to do that to take and keep this nice and even. And all these are just planishing heats. Be careful that you don't get too carried away. You'll end up putting unintended hammer blows like I just did on that in there. Okay, so that's really just a black heat. I was just planishing it up and basically dawdling. So there's the first step of this process. Now I'm going to get to you here in a second. I've got it on the other end of the bar, a finished piece, but I don't want to ruin the magic too soon. You're going to watch how this goes. Continue to watch. I'll heat this back up and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now that we've got this piece up to heat again, we are now going to take that boss, the near side boss, we are going to take and stick it over the far side edge of the anvil, and we are going to take and double the length on it. Now we're not going to do a cube of material, we're going to do 2 cubes of material for this boss. And what that will end us up with is 2 3/8 will equal 3/4, or roughly 20 mil. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out now, and we're going to do that. So again, we're going to go 1 cube of material, 2 cubes of material, and just like before, we want to forge down those bosses. Correct the material width. But make it equal when you're thinning it down. You want to make it just as thin as the original thickness of the piece that you started forging. If that makes sense. So again, these are just planishing blows, and the reason why I'm planishing at each stage of this process is because I'm going to end up with this piece here in just a second where I won't be able to get back in there for a reach issue. So you want this to be nice and straight and cleaned up and in line. So now we're left with something that looks like this, kind of a crazy contraption. So this is where you need to start thinking, about general forging forms, different types of forms that you can use boss work and shouldering work in. This one could be particularly handy if you needed a really low to the ground kind of staple type of effect. Now you could take and put something in there like a piece of sheet metal that would slide back and forth. I don't know what you'd use that for, and you would have enough mass on the ends that you could drill and tap for bolts to take and hold this piece down. Also, say you want to slip a piece of sheet metal through here, maybe that's what you're using it for, and then this piece right here, this end here, you could drill and tap and make a set screw on. So there's a lot of different applications that this will be useful. There's actually one application that this form here in one of my next tutorial videos that'll be coming up that it will actually be using this form for. So I hope that that'll be helpful and informative in that video. But again, you want to practice this portion of this thus far. Now, if you notice, the right hand side is drawn out just a little bit longer. Hopefully you guys can see this just fine. The right hand side is drawn out a wee longer than what the left hand side is. That's because I still got a little material thickness here. I have to heat this back up and correct that material thickness. But that's perfectly okay. We'll do that here in this next heat. Okay, at this point in the video, I'm going to stress that doing this type of work, especially when you're going to expect things like this to have a mechanical function, it is important for you to practice techniques like this in order to really up your level of your A game when it comes to your practice forgings. I will also say that just because you are a beginner does not mean that you should not try to challenge yourself and practice these exercises in your home shop. Yes, it may be challenging already to do tapers and things like that, but doing boss work, making bosses, that's what this is. This is just one of the 7 basic blacksmithing principles that are applied in all the ironwork that you see anywhere in the world. So it is very important for you to take and practice each of these at the skill level that you are. You may find that even though you may have struggles with getting a taper, doing boss work, you're really good at that. Okay, that's one thing you can check mark off your list. Move on to the next item on the list. Maybe it's forge welds. Hey, maybe you're actually pretty good at that. You kind of get the concept and you're able to get those welds down pat pretty quick. Well, then go back and keep continuing to practice on your tapers, because if that's the part, if that's your weak point, then you know to take and really focus on that and make a focus-driven effort every time you're in the shop, in the workshop, to make some sort of progression. Now, most people do not have the luxury, as I am aware, like I do, to take and be able to forge every single day, which is really truly a blessing, and I'm very, very aware of that is a blessing. So again, I do know that you guys may only have a few hours. I was there in the first part, in the first 4 years of my forging ambition, if you will, when I did it as a hobby. I did it for a hobby for about 3 years, 3.5 years, almost 4 years solid. I did it as kind of a hobby. There was a mix-up year there somewhere, but that's beyond the point. The point is I did it as a hobby, and so I did it part-time. When I started running this business, I kind of started it as a part-time thing on the back end, evenings and weekends, and then I had my car wreck, and then that pushed me into doing it full-time and, you know, helping a guy do some remodeling and painting and scraping wallpaper and some other things. A real dear family friend of mine helped me out, basically put me on a job like that, for those of you who don't know my backstory. But taking and doing this, that shouldn't give you the excuse, well, I only have 2 hours to play around in the shop, so I'd rather just make a knife. Or, hey, I only got 2 hours, I'd rather just make that door knocker that I want to make, when you don't understand the basic principles of blacksmithing. Practice those basic principles of blacksmithing your first year in blacksmithing, and the rest of your years will go by like a breeze, and you can conquer more and more and more advanced level projects. So that's hopefully will be an encouragement to you. It's not meant to be a negativity whatsoever. I hope that you'll be encouraged by that. Now, if you are trying to take and start a blacksmithing business, Jessica and I have a ton of free content here on the channel. You can look at the Blacksmithing a Business The Business of Blacksmithing playlist, I believe is how it's labeled. I will put a link in the description down below, and I'll also put a card right here if you want to go watch those videos on that. We have several hundred videos around the subject of business and blacksmithing and inspirational stuff to keep you going and kick your butt to get you out there in your shop and start making a living at this whole thing. With that being said, before I pull this piece out of the fire, while I've got your undivided attention, a great way of supporting this channel, if you'd like to see more content and continue to support the free videos that we offer here on YouTube on a daily basis. Yes, I said 7 days a week. That means a daily basis. We have over 1,100 videos on the platform as of right now around the subject of blacksmithing, of free video content. A great way of supporting us in that endeavor is to go over to our website at blacksmithpdfs.com and go check out maybe a ebook around doing a business or a power hammer plan or something of the like. And again, those go to take and help the videos and improve video quality, audio quality like you're listening to right now. That's a newly acquired purchase, and we greatly appreciate your support there. All right, so without further ado, let's pull this out. Now what we're going to do is just like in the previous video where I did offset shoulders. Again, I'll put a link, I think it's over here. I think the cards are actually over here. But anyways, I will put a link up in the screen somewhere here that you can go watch the previous forging exercise video on this. We are going to take and bend this away from the boss. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that right now. So we want to bend it away from that boss there. So I'm going to hold it right here on the edge of the anvil, work it forward, put the boss over, and now we're going to start getting this in line. And we just want to give it a quick tap out here at the edge, almost like we're using half on, half off blows. And that's going to start getting us squared up where we want. Now I will say this, you're going to want this piece to be quite hot when you're doing this. So we're going to stick, so we got that round just that far, and now we're going to heat up this long section here. We're going to get this as hot as we can get it, and we're going to forge it down. We're going to try to compress it straight down or upset that piece like as if it was a bar sitting all to itself. I will also, in this amount of time, I will have to switch up to using a stake anvil. Now, if you do not have a stake anvil, do not fret. Don't worry about that. Use a piece of square bar stock to be able to fit inside here while you, so it holds open these here. You want this to stay parallel, so you want to take and put something in here so it doesn't allow it to go south while you're upsetting this down to the proper plane. So I'll heat this up again, and I'll be right back with you. Got this piece good and hot, almost to a light welding heat. I'm gonna just aim out at that end. It's gonna bow on you, that's okay. And it's gonna go a little goofy on you, that's also okay. Because we're about to square that back up. Again, like I said, if you've got a little small square bar, this won't be as bad of an issue on you. If you don't have a square bar and you have something like what I'm using here at the anvil, a Bic iron of some sort of Bic, that will be very helpful. Now we're going to start seeing how this is coming along. To show you where we're progressing, we're going to something like this. Now you might be saying to yourself, what a useless piece of whatever that thing is. And you could be right. You could be right. But I also challenge you to ask yourself, have you ever seen a tuning fork? Have you ever seen a tuning fork that resonates or so? How do you think you might be able, just maybe, be able to make a tuning fork? You can make a tuning fork really easily with a similar process just like this. Now that's not exactly how tuning forks are made. I'm sure there's a video somewhere on YouTube about making and manufacturing tuning forks, but that is one complex form that you may be able to accomplish if you do it correctly. So again, we're just using this bick here, and by the way, this whole bick iron here is just made out of a piece of mild steel, so they're really robust as long as you're hammering hot metal against them. You know, you can get by with making a bick out of just mild steel. So now here all I'm doing is I'm just straightening up this slot and now squaring things out. Again, this doesn't want to do what I want it to do. It doesn't want to squat down, but I want it to. So we're going to have to get this good and hot again, take another near welding heat on it, just to drive that material a little bit more. But you guys can see how that slot's progressing. I'll be right back with you as soon as I get that up to high heat again. Got another nice high heat on this. Again, trying to drive that corner square on the inside. That's not exactly an easy thing to do. Trying to get these leveled up. We don't want to stretch it too much. Trying to develop the outside corner and the inside corner at the same time. If you get one dimension that starts to kind of go outside the confounds of where you're wanting it, like for instance, this here is not matching up with this here, you just take another heat on this here and drive that back, and it won't be an issue any longer. Now, you can keep going with this and cleaning this up, but I would suggest once you get everything lined up where you want, go ahead and stop there and just file the rest if you need this perfectly square. Now you'd be like, Roy, well, what's the purpose of this shape? Well, one of the purposes of this shape is, have you ever seen a carabiner, or I believe it's called a carabiner? I'm not quite sure if that's what it is, but you know those little things that take up the slack in a belt? So if you have a belt, like a strap that loops through something, you can loop it back through and it kind of snugs up. You can slide it and it'll hold like a slip knot. It'll hold whatever you're trying to hook up with. That's a shape that you can get from this. Now, you can't get it with just one single loop like that, but say you put a boss, let me get back over here real quick and pull it out here. But let's say you put a boss like this, you drew down this material, again, made that a small boss. This area in here, make this a small boss. Again, back the opposite way, and a boss on the opposite side, and then bend it back around to meet here. Now you've got that S-curve shape, and people will be like, man, how in the world did you do that? As far as decorative applications, if you are trying to go with something like an Aztec type theme, a Southwestern type theme on something, you could probably use this very effectively in that type of work. Maybe not completely closed like we've got it here, but kind of bring it up and out and up and out, because the Aztec kind of thing, Southwestern theme, has a lot of like really geometric patterns in it. This is one way of doing that. So before this video gets too long, I'm going to go ahead and conclude it up here. I want to thank you all for your support. I want to thank you all for watching this video. It really does mean a lot to Jessica and I when you guys take that initiative to watch and share these videos, and it also does help the channel. We realize that not all of you can support on a monthly basis or a daily or a weekly or anything else like that, the channel, and you guys can just, you know, but you do benefit from the free content that we produce here on YouTube, and we just greatly appreciate having you nonetheless on this channel. And we really hope that if this is your first time on the channel, that you'll stick around, delve into the 1,100 or so videos that we have on the channel, share the ones that are most helpful to you, to your friends, and let us know how we're doing in the comment section down below. So that's going to be it for this little forging exercise video. Like I said, there'll be more to come on this at a later date. So don't think that this is the last you're going to be seeing of these type videos. There will be more coming out at a later date as I'm progressing, and hopefully if you're following along, you're progressing as well to a point where you guys will be able to do some of the more advanced level projects that I plan for here in the year 2019. So that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one.